Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining. We'll start at exactly 12 o'clock. Hey Karan, are you able to unmute? Just wanted to check that before we start. Can you unmute?
Yes, Ron. You hear me now?
Oh, great. Yes, yes, yes. We'll start in one. Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining the Juno Masterclass that we host every Saturday. My name is Ronit, and I'm part of. Hey, apologies, some issues with my internet. So, thank you so much, everyone, for joining in for the Juno Masterclass today. And very excited to host Karan. And before I introduce him, just wanted to share with everyone that we host this Juno Masterclass every Saturday at 12 o'clock, right? So please do subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please do follow us on LinkedIn so that you get all the relevant links and get the links to join so that you can register and don't miss any masterclass. Karan, am I audible? Are you able to hear me? If you can unmute yourself, just wanted to do a quick check.
Yes, we can.
Can you hear me, Karan? Okay, so yeah. So first of all, Karan, thank you so much for accepting our invitation for the Juno Masterclass. Very excited to host you today. Right. And so for everyone who has joined us live and also watching us, on the live stream happening across LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube, Karan is currently the head of India at AppTweak. A quick brief about AppTweak. AppTweak is an organization which helps uh, organization in optimizing their apps on the Play Store and increase downloads. Karan, before joining AppTweak and running the India operations, he was working with organizations like LinkedIn, Practo, right? So, Karan, the stage is yours. We are looking forward to learn a lot about emotional intelligence. We are in the world of AI, but AI definitely has an edge. Please go ahead. Are you able to unmute, Karan?
Yes, now it's okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
So firstly, welcome everyone. I know it's a Saturday and it's amazing to see so many folks joining in. I'll give you a quick introduction about what I do. And in the meantime, if you can also add a bit about what you're currently working on in chat, it'll be amazing to know everyone personally. Over the last 8 years, I've worked in multiple organizations in sales as well as in customer success. And while I've worked with a lot of folks with amazing skills, I think one skill that has often as a differentiated a lot of folks is their emotional intelligence and EQ. So we'll be discussing that in detail. But yeah, of course, very keen on understanding what some of your experiences have been as well. To make sure that I have enough and more to talk about and to also give you a visual representation of what I'm going to discuss, I would be happy to go ahead and also share a quick presentation with you. Right, awesome. So let me just quickly get started.
Yeah, we can
I
see your
hope
screen.
everyone can see my screen. Okay, perfect. Okay, so the first question that all of you might have is, why should you listen to me? Overall, in the last 8 years, I've gone ahead and onboarded over 2,500 plus companies in record management with Practo, recruitment and marketing for LinkedIn, and for ASO to AppWeek. So I've had the experience of understanding, listening, and also empathizing with over 2,500 companies on what are the problems that they're facing and finding solutions for them. Overall, beyond any awards or beyond anything else, I do go ahead and count this as a big achievement for myself so far. And I'm just getting started. I've worked alongside some top leaders in the market, be it in any different company. I've had the opportunity of going ahead and doing that, and it's been amazing so far. At LinkedIn, at AppTweak, we currently have a team of 7 individuals in India and, of course, more individuals across the world. And I've had the opportunity of hiring, mentoring, and also growing this team. So I see that as a massive learning experience for myself, not just in sales, but also in terms of leadership. Today, we are trying to go ahead and build a network of professionals to share knowledge, ideas, and build synergies, not because it goes ahead and benefits me or someone else, but overall, it benefits the entire community of individuals and professionals. So with that, we'll dive deeper into the topic, but happy to listen in from you all as well. So let's keep the chat section a bit more engaged. Now, the agenda for today would be to cover the importance of managing emotions, looking at the components of emotional intelligence, looking at how we can leverage EI in sales, and then also we can open it up to any Q&A that you might have. Okay. Now, a lot of you might ask, what is emotional intelligence? It refers to the capability of a person to manage and control his or her emotions and possess the ability to control emotions of others as well. In short, we all are amazingly learned professionals, and probably our IQ levels might also be very similar. But what really can go and differentiate how we sell, what we sell, and also how we succeed would be based on our EQ. And EQ is also a part of EI. So that's what we'll be going ahead and discussing today. There are 5 major components of EI, or emotional intelligence, which is self-awareness and regulation, internal motivation, empathy, and social skills. Now, these are 5 major components of emotional intelligence. Um, I'd be happy to understand if you've had any experiences where you've said, if I would have managed my emotions a bit better, this sale or this deal could have been a little more different than what we were expecting. So do share your stories also in the chat section.
I'll be manning the chat for you, Karan. So don't worry. I mean, whenever something comes up, I'll let you know.
Sure, absolutely. I'll give you an example of empathy or sympathy in sales. Empathy involves feeling what someone feels, and sympathy involves understanding someone else's emotions. So to give you a very nice example, here's a quick scenario. Now, whenever we're trying to sell, there are often some concerns that clients or prospects might come back to us with. One of them is budget. And a lot of us have different ways of dealing with this objection. Some of us go the discount route. Some of us go to the route of saying, sorry, we don't listen to budget requirements. Some of us go back and say, I'll get to my manager and come back to you. So all of us have different ways of really solving for this problem. And in both cases, sometimes sympathy works and sometimes empathy works. It's about understanding what does. Now, a sympathetic response would be to recognize the importance of staying within the budgets and exploring options with the financial limitations. Now, the issue with expressing sympathy is the fact that you're going back and telling someone that, oh, I understand that you're facing an issue and I'm here to solve it. Ideally, it also goes ahead and displays that you feel sorry for another person overall, right? So on most cases, a better response or an empathetic response would be to demonstrate that you've gone ahead and dealt with these issues in the past. And you've gone ahead and devised a successful plan in the past as well for organizations that have faced budget constraints. So empathetic response could be that budget constraints can create significant challenges and that you've worked with clients who have faced similar situations and you're committed to find a solution. The tonality changes, and it also makes the other individual feel that you understand the situation rather than just responding to it. So these are ways in which you can go back and leverage EI as a part of your sales process. Now, there are multiple such scenarios, be it budget constraints, be it issues with competition. There's always a space for us to go back and look at what might be an empathetic response. Awesome. Moving on, I think this is the part which is the most interesting with self-awareness and self-regulation. Now, overall self-awareness is our ability to accurately perceive the level of skill, knowledge, value, and responsibility we use when it comes to our emotions, right? Now, given a scenario where we all try to go ahead and sell on Zoom, often we also go ahead and meet clients. It's not always that everyone in the room is very perceptive to what you might have to present. Take a scenario of you going ahead and giving an amazing presentation and everyone in the room is quiet. How often has it happened that you're giving a complete presentation on a Zoom call and the other side is absolutely clueless about what you're talking, right? There are also times when I have noticed a couple of folks in meetings having their camera switched off, or even the client side having their camera switched off. You have absolutely no idea what's happening on the other side. They might be watching a cricket match. So you might be giving an amazing presentation, but they're lost in the entire pitch. And that's where having that ability to understand if the other individual is even available to understand what you're going ahead and pitching is so important. Think about it. If you're on a call and you see a client probably talking to someone or ordering tea or on their phone, if you take a pause and just ask them if they're preoccupied, if they want to reschedule it, or if they want to go ahead and focus on a specific part of your presentation, is amazing. Now, I want to go ahead and share a personal story. Um, I think credit cards and insurance are certain products that are generally deemed to be very hard to sell. At least on a weekly basis, if you might be getting one call explaining benefits of a credit card. And most of the times we try to be nice to folks, but sometimes we just cut the call. These days with Truecaller, it also has a virtual assistant, so you can just give that call to the virtual assistant. So credit cards and insurance are the hardest sells overall. And I was surprised to see how one of the credit card companies really sold their credit card, which was for 10,000 rupees per year. Now, as individuals who travel and as individuals who have always aspired to, let's say, play golf or play cricket or play any other competitive sport which is for networking, it's interesting to go back and see how some credit card companies have figured out what might be an interesting pitch. uh, all of these airport lounge experiences with credit cards, they've figured out that pitch that folks are looking out for airport lounges when they go to airports. And additionally, if you also do get golf lessons or a free stay at a Taj hotel, how much would you be willing to pay for it? To give you an example, one of these credit card companies gives you 2 golf lessons every month, one stay at Taj Hotel for one night, 25 airport lounge accesses across the world. Would you pay 10K for it? You can think about it and let me know. But overall, they've gone ahead and figured out what might work. And then their credit card pitch is not about take the credit card, increase your credit limit, you get points here and there. The credit card pitch is about, do you want golf lessons? Another example is probably of a couple of banks looking at credit cards giving you premium economy and business class tickets for free, which is one travel for free and you pay 3K or 5K. Some of them work because folks generally go ahead and travel economy and they want to go ahead and try out what is it like to travel in premium economy or business class. And they see this as a big value benefit, especially when they're able to understand that this might be working out for them. So that's where companies as well as individuals have to be self-aware of their value proposition and also about what the other individual really wants to hear and wants to understand. In sales, it's also always not very easy to manage targets or to look at quarter ends. One of those quarter ends was very recently or right now. So a lot of sales folks go ahead and struggle with the ability to manage emotions, desires, and behaviors. As soon as there is a quarter end, we tend to get into that cycle of heavy discounting, going back in and probably spamming clients or prospects with some emails, going ahead and giving them phone calls or reaching out to them on WhatsApp. All of that is valid overall, but some of those might lead to clients or prospects going ahead and ghosting us. And that's where self-regulation comes into space. Imagine if you're trying to go ahead and buy, let's say, an air purifier, and if the store calls you up every day, and then they call you up on the quarter end and tell you there's a big discount that's coming up. If you're not convinced on buying it, you won't buy it, irrespective of the discount, irrespective of the deal, irrespective of the individual calling you. And you might actually go back and block them or mark them as spam as well on your phone. So there's no point of reaching there. And that's why self-regulation comes into the picture of making sure that you have the ability of managing your emotions, be it fear of losing out, be it going ahead and having lesser incentives for the month as well. At the end of the day, we're here to solve the problem of a client, not to go back and sell something to them. And that's what is one of the best parts of sales as well, because often roles in companies are referred to as sales representatives. So in short, we are representing the company. We are representing what the company has to offer to a group of prospects who might be willing to buy. We don't have to shove it down their throat saying, take it right now. So I think that's where self-awareness and self-regulation plays such a big role in terms of making sure that you're emotionally aware of what might be the causes of good sales as well as bad sales. I work in a company where renewals happen every month. So we have a SaaS-based product where every month the customer success team has to work tirelessly to make sure that customers go ahead and renew. And that gives us the advantage of making sure that we are very, very close to customers. Additionally, that also gives us the disadvantage that we can't go ahead and mess up with any customer during sales. So in short, if I go ahead and close a bad deal, they're going to churn next month, and the business loses out on reputation. The business loses out on a prospective customer who would have been there for a long term, and that customer or that prospect is going to go in the market and talk about us in not such a good light. So for me, it's very, very important to onboard prospects or customers which are completely convinced that the solution would work for them. Because otherwise, the customer success team will not be able to renew them overall. We often go ahead and look at sales being transactional, like we close a deal. No, we onboard a customer. If you close a deal, that deal can churn. But if you onboard a customer, that customer is yours. For me, I think even 8 years down the line, there are often, I would say, some of my old customers who call me up saying, I have a nice prospect. Do I connect them with you, or can you connect them with someone else in your previous company? And that's amazing to see, because when I onboarded them, I went over and beyond of what was expected from me. So to give you an example, while I was working at LinkedIn, we used to sell a recruitment product where recruiters and HRs could go ahead and find the right talent. Now, if like a new recruiter has to be trained, it wasn't available in small plans, or it wasn't available for the starter plans overall. It was available for enterprises, or it was available for large clients that LinkedIn had. However, thinking about what that might cause what that might lead to in the long term in business would be churn. Because at the end of the day, imagine you're a new recruiter that the company has hired. You've been given a fancy tool like LinkedIn, Naukri, or any other tool, but you don't know how to use it. You're going to struggle for a couple of months, or you're going ahead and telling your management that this doesn't work for us. Can you work on this? On the other hand, if an individual at LinkedIn is saying, I'm going to give you 30 minutes, right? I'm going to take you through the platform once, record the call, work on it, let me know if you have any questions, and message me on WhatsApp, right? Now I've built that one-on-one relationship with the recruiter, not even the decision maker. I've built that relationship with the user. So they're going to use the platform. They're going to trust and believe in me that I'll be available if they have a problem. And one fine day, when they're a decision maker in any other company, they're going to look forward to connecting with me again. They're not going to another platform which sold the platform to them, never came back and said, here you go. Here's a manual for you to read. Here's a FAQ that you can go ahead and look at and find your own way. That doesn't work. And in a space where every company is trying to make sure that they have high ROI from any solution, any product, any service that they buy, they don't just look at the brand value, or they don't just look at the short-term solution. They look at the value that the entire process is bringing. Because especially if you sell subscription-based services, it's for 12 months, 24 months, it's not a one-time product altogether. So this is a bit about self-awareness and self-regulation. Now comes in intrinsic motivation. Now, overall in sales, we all need to be motivated enough to sell more, right? There are two types of motivations. Intrinsic is something that comes, or it's behavior driven by internal or intrinsic desires. Something that's not external, like for example, your incentives, your vacations, or even money, or even like free pizza parties. All of those are extrinsic motivations. I wouldn't lie if I said that I did not believe in extrinsic motivation in the beginning of my career. Incentives, or let's say parties, really interested me as well. And that's how we all are in the beginning of our careers, because we are focused on looking and growing faster. But at the end of the day, when I look back at all of those times, and when I look at myself today, I often feel and I often ask myself, why am I selling what I'm selling? Or how does it solve a problem for any of our customers? Or what will they do with our solution at the end of the day? So I'm often also asking them, great, you've taken up the subscription, or now that you've gone ahead and implemented AppTweak in your company, what are you doing with it? Like, what did your first 15 days look like? Who did you add in the dashboard? Or who did you talk to after you took up the subscription? Or when you logged in, were you okay over there? So for me, it's more about now looking at solving a problem. If you think about it, not all companies go ahead and save the world. Not all companies have a vision to make the world a better place. Some of them go ahead and make lives convenient for others. So it's very important to look beyond product USPs, service USPs, to understanding what does it solve. So often I've gone back and looked at presentations that many companies would have built, and I've gone ahead and changed a bit in those presentations to become more human. And all of that is because of intrinsic motivation, which is to solve the problem, not to go ahead and get a reward. And I think that's where a lot of these quarter ending, year ending sales, or even a lot of those incentives that come with it don't really bother me, because I'm like, even if it doesn't come now, it's going to come next quarter. So I'm not going to lose the deal because I want to make more money out of it, or that deal will go ahead and give me an incentive which is beyond, let's say, a particular holiday or even a particular deal overall. But I'm going to go back and look at, did I go ahead and solve the problem? Was there even a problem to go ahead and solve? Because often our product or services might not be able to solve the problem as well for the customer. If they want to go back and have, let's say, a water purifier, giving them a matka from outside will not help it. They need a water purifier. So it's very interesting to look at how some sales folks sell. There are a couple of tools that we can also go ahead and use to record ourselves. I think we tried this out as a part of our trainings in AppTweak. Um, I think when we try to sell on Zoom, it's very different from when we sell in person. So what we did was we started going ahead and recording ourselves. So no one's on the call. We just recorded ourselves pitching the tool. Then we listened to ourselves as well as to what are we pitching. A lot of our pitches were very product based. They were like, hey, here's another feature for you. Here's another feature for you. So we bombarded every client with 20 different features and said, our plans are based on features. After that, we changed the entire pitch saying, these features solve this for you, right? And if this is the solution that you're looking out for, that's the particular plan that suits your need. To give you an example, very recently, I think actually it's been like 5 to 6 years now. There are a lot of companies started going ahead and giving cars on rent for years together. So they started saying, if you want a Maruti Suzuki car or a Swift, pay us 1 lakh in a year or like 10,000 a month, right? And here you go. It's on rent for you. So instead of now buying a car and maintaining it and then looking at the resale value of it, take it from us, brand new car, insurance is done, maintenance is on us, drive it, right? Now Mini Cooper came back and said 8 lakhs for the same thing, 8.5 lakhs per month, pay the same value and take the car for rent. Now, when I went ahead and started looking at this as a solution, I asked them, what will I get from different plans that you have? Now, the individual said, in the first plan, you manage maintenance, you manage insurance, we give you the car. In the second plan, we manage insurance, we manage maintenance, you take the car. In the third plan, cancel it anytime. Cancel it at any point of time. We go ahead and refund you if you've paid more, but there is an extra premium for it. Now, all of these three plans were for different individuals based on their different needs. And that's where the problem kicked in, because they started pushing me to take up the premium plan. But I did not want it because I'm going to be in Bangalore for the next 1 year. So I don't want to go back and have a plan where I can cancel it and get the money refunded and all of that. And I think that's where we have to be cautious about what we're pitching, who we're pitching it to, and if the solution even makes sense or not. And of course, that's where intrinsic motivation comes into the picture. Because if we look beyond our incentives, we might be able to go ahead and get more deals. And at the end of the day, more deals might go ahead and mean more incentives overall. So I'm a big believer in not losing out to a customer who might, or not losing out to a prospect who can become a customer, rather than pushing them to become a customer tomorrow morning. If there are any folks in Hindi who can understand this, there's actually a saying which says, I think kismat se zyada kisi ko nahi milta and all of that. Very, very similar overall, right? So a lot of those things really matter in terms of selling with emotional intelligence as well. Okay, moving on to the next bit. Now here's where social skills comes into the picture as well. And for anyone in sales, I think it's debated and also spoken at length about how social skills can be very, very helpful and how they can really work out. Here's one example of it. Now, most discovery calls or the first initial call that you're having to understand if a prospect can become a customer has these questions. If a person is okay, is the business is okay, is the team okay? What do they think is going on? How are they feeling about it? What can you do to resolve a couple of things? So this is where most discovery calls end. And a lot of them follow that band framework. Some company has another framework to understand budget, authority, need, and time. And this is done and dusted for everyone. How about adding a couple of questions, right? Now, small talk is something that we often avoid in conversations. And we often try to go ahead and skip to the part where we start presenting. So for every salesperson overall, I think the goal often is to present the solution and look at the pricing and close the deal. So we all go with that frame of mind in a meeting. which then stops us from understanding what's happening overall. Right? And the best of best sales calls generally end with understanding a person, understanding what they're currently doing and what they're planning to do as well. You wouldn't believe it. This was something that my manager in my first job taught me. If someone's offering you a cup of tea when you're meeting them in person, or coffee, don't deny it, because by the time they go ahead and get tea or coffee, you've bought yourself time to first understand what they're doing and then pitch the solution. By the time you finish tea, you have 20 minutes more than having a very short meeting. Because at the end of the day, someone's going to bring tea for you, or you're going to get tea for yourself. It's going to take 10 minutes to drink tea as well. So you've bought yourself 10 minutes to understand that individual, not to drink tea. In that space of understanding an individual, you might be able to understand what they're passionate about, why are they doing what they're doing, or how they want to communicate with you as well. So many times we often keep sending or bombarding people with emails, but they're just like ek phone kar lete, or just could have just given us a call, or could have just gone ahead and sent me a WhatsApp message. But we don't know what's their preferred mode of communication. We're often scared of saying, if I call them up, will they feel bad about it? But we've never asked, how do you want me to communicate with you? Or how would you like us to work together to ensure a successful partnership? An individual might just come back and say, you know what, maybe I'm going to take like 2, 3 months to really come back to you. And that's how we forecast deals. You don't put them in your pipeline overall. You keep them for the long term and you're like, this will come one day, but not today. So I think that's where having that emotional intelligence in terms of looking at the long-term picture is important. Um, I, I've been interviewing some folks for sales role in the last couple of years. And one of the fear that almost everyone had, especially in their job roles, was if I don't sell, a company would fire me. Or if I'm not able to go ahead and get this deal, I'm not meeting my quota, and the company would probably let me go. So I think if we're always living in that fear of a company might not see the value of having a strong customer and rather might see short-term goals, one, I think as managers also we need to evolve and change the way we work and expect goals to be achieved. And secondly, we also need to, as sales folks, we also need to understand that it's better to get one deal in the quarter, which is an amazing deal which might grow, rather than getting 5 deals which will churn the next month. But of course, everyone has their own goals overall. So I think that's a bit about what I wanted to talk to you about today. The goal of this entire masterclass was to give you a view of what has worked for me, but also give you thoughts around what might work for you as well in the long term. So think through about the way you're currently selling, the way you're currently having conversations. And as soon as you reach a roadblock, try to see what you might have missed overall, and try to see how self-awareness and self-regulation can really help you. In the last 3 years that I've worked at Aptweek, a lot has really depended on um, how we go ahead and sell. And there's been a lot of autonomy that has been given in terms of selling Aptweek in India. And that gives us the power to, but also gives us the responsibility of selling well. So we can't really go back and sell it to individuals that might not believe in the solution. So often we've said no to deals, even if it meant we might go ahead and achieve a particular milestone. At times we've said no to a particular company as well because it didn't feel that they would go ahead and benefit in the long term from it. And often it's not about selling or getting a deal overall, like I mentioned. It's about onboarding them and making sure that they're on a path to success overall. With that, that's a bit about the presentation, and that's a bit about me. But happy to take up any questions that you might have.
Hey, thank you so much, Karan. I think really love the points and the examples that you shared. Uh, Before we open up it for everyone, one person actually has given the question in the chat. Would you mind if I help you with the question?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So Pankaj says that he is in the logistics industry and provide services for export import businesses to the manufacturers. How can he apply emotional intelligence in the services sector?
Got it.
And Pankaj, if you're around, you can maybe switch on your video, and if you have a further question to ask, you can also do that. So maybe you can raise your hand.
Well, thank you so much. I can only unmute myself because I'm in office. I'm not able to appropriate things. I'm sitting in some way where I can open my video only.
I understand.
So this is the main issue. That's why I just, just
No, that's okay. Completely fine. Do you have a follow-up question, or is this the question that you would like to only ask him?
No, I just need to ask this one only because
Okay.
I'm on a regular in a logistic services now. Because we have provided and regularly in touch with the customers for their export import business. But what I am facing is that people are not about to share their actual problems. When we go for a pitch that we are in a logistics service and we are providing you these kind of service, and this will help you out to increase your commercials and increase your probability to get more profit which you are actually having it, and these are the main and key factors which we can add on into the services. So somehow people are not actually respond in a way it actually should be. So that's why I just wanted to know that where do I need to apply emotional intelligence so that it can help me out to get it, get in touch with the customers in a better way.
Got it. Got it. There are a couple of things, to be honest. Like, this is not exactly my forte, but I do go ahead and
I do understand. That's why I just I just mentioned that I am from a logistic industry, but actually it comes in a service. So I thought of that you can give some kind of a guidance so that it can help me out to come out.
Right.
Yeah.
No, of course. I think a couple of parallels that I can draw is when we started off as well selling in India, as well as selling in a couple of other countries as well. We did a lot of A/B testing with what messaging works. Because in the beginning, we were reaching out to folks from emails, through LinkedIn messages, through phone calls as well, because it was a new market overall. And we understood that folks generally respond back to our fourth message. The first message was more of an introduction where we gave them amazing case studies and all of that. The second message was more about understanding if they're the right decision maker. Third message was more to understand if what are the specifics of their market. And the fourth message was giving them a free consultation. And often by the third or the fourth message, we started seeing responses from individuals who were more receptive to communication, and they were more understanding about what we are trying to do. So I think at times consistency works, and also for certain audiences, a different way of messaging works as well. Because some of them might be very driven to cost saving or profitability. Some of them might be looking at reliable partnerships, while others might be also be looking at building relationships for the long term. So it might be a different pitch for all of them. And I think that's where, if your mode of communication is through emails, A/B testing might definitely go ahead and help, and trying to create sequences might definitely go ahead and help. Also, there might be, I'm not really sure if there are associations in the similar sector as well. But when we started off, there were a lot of mobile associations that we tried to get in touch with, and a lot of them had different connects. So if you see, today there are approximately 5 or 6 events that happen every month. What my team currently is trying to do is to understand who is attending these events, and if we can meet them in person, not at the event, but beyond the event as well. So we're trying to meet these folks individually, meet them in a setup that can help us have a quick one-on-one conversation. So often folks might not be very responsive to emails or phone calls, but they're just like, okay, let's have a cup of coffee, or let's just meet for breakfast and figure out if there's a solution for this. So different approaches might really help.
Yeah, that thank you so much for your insights, but I can ask more if you don't mind me to ask you.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. So basically, what you have just told me now, that I have applied all the process, that first telecalling, then the cold calling, then again to visit the customers. But here in the service industry, now there is a lots of people who are doing with different vendors now. So basically, they don't want to change, and they are just replying like they sits in a like a HR, that like HR is saying na, that I'll come back to you. So they are also saying that just share me your email or your introduction email so that I'll just come back to you for the same. But everybody knows that I am giving the service which they already using, but I have some niche market and I have some different portfolio for them. So somehow I get a response in that, again 3 and 4 responses, but somehow sometime I'm not able to get some response after 10 email and all. So I have to just go through to pass that person and to talk to their directors or talk to their senior managers, so that I try to get some response.
Right.
But yes, I definitely try to apply some of the or change my pitch also to get response from these folks.
Sure. I do believe that often gatekeepers, or often, let's say, HRs, or also individuals who
Yeah.
report into managers, might be stopping your access overall. And
Yes.
I think that's where like I have generally seen a lot of success with LinkedIn, as well as having introductions and connections. Because for me, as soon as I've had a connect with a company, I'm often reaching out to them on LinkedIn saying I've dropped them an email, or I've dropped their counterparts an email as well. And today there are a lot of solutions also that go ahead and give you access to their email IDs, or their phone numbers as well. Often,
Yeah.
It might not be a bad idea to drop them an introductory email along with the individual who you just spoke with.
Yeah.
So often that helps, even keeping them in CC, because at least it's reached the right person. And if they were to respond, they would generally respond.
Understand your point. Thank you so much for your support.
Thanks, Pankaj. Yes, I think there were more questions as well. Yes, Yogesh, do you want to go ahead? Oh, I think I can't unmute you, unfortunately. No worries. I'll take up the one from Rajiv and then I'll come back to you, Yogesh. Perfect. So Rajiv mentioned that he's in pharma sales, and if we can help him to adopt a sales approach to different culture and personalities. Sure. Honestly, I've worked with Practo, so I understand a bit about what might be the pains of being in pharma sales. To give you an example, when I was working at Practo, the kind of environment at a lot of doctors and clinics was that there were 10 minutes or 15 minutes given to sales reps, to folks who were pitching softwares, or also to pharma representatives. And we often had to wait for hours together to get those 10 minutes from a doctor or from a clinic as well. What I understood was that I often started meeting the same pharma reps again and again. And I started understanding who were they meeting, what were they trying to sell, and what was not selling for them. So essentially, from what I understood, whenever we have, let's say, 2-3 minutes with a doctor, they're just trying to understand what you're selling and what might be some features, or what might be some compositions of pharma drugs that you're selling as well. And they're like, leave your brochure. If we want, we'll give you a call back. So often after waiting for 2 hours, you have that 2-minute pitch and then it's gone. And often that 2-minute pitch is already in your mind. So you just have to blurt it out. One of the pharma reps that I worked with had a very different approach, where he started going ahead and giving doctors some QR codes, also some gifts, to make sure that they remember him overall. Right. And I know that pharma sales folks also do have some budgets to go ahead and give doctors some incentives as well. It might be interesting to look at an approach where a doctor has an easy access to reach out to you again, because none of those brochures, none of those pamphlets are really saved with them. They mostly go ahead and throw it out. What I would generally approach it as is to go ahead and send them video messages. That's worked out for a lot of folks. Also might be interesting to be their receptionist's best friend. because they know when the doctor is free. They might be able to give you more time as well. They might also be able to give you slots where the doctor is generally available to listen more, because 2 minutes is very, very little for anyone to explain your particular drug overall. I think that might really work, which is to have some good friends. For me, because I was selling Practo, which was not competing with the drugs or products that pharma sales reps were selling, it was easy for me to have some friends and also ask them which are the doctors that they're visiting, which doctors are generally more open to tech, which doctors are generally more open to marketing. So it was easy to do that. So it might be very helpful to make more friends with pharma sales reps. Okay, I think that was, I think Dr. Upendra also had a question around dealing with mood swings of his manager.
Yes, Upender, actually, I've allowed you to unmute yourself. If you can ask the question and elaborate on exactly what you want to know, which is related to this topic.
Yeah, just a minute.
Can you go ahead with your question?
Sorry. I'm audible?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Yeah, recent past, we were in connect with the sales slash CEO. That we observed the pattern about the mood swing, shouting in front of the team. I want to run my own, otherwise I will give this everything to outsource to someone. I'm not getting result, even though we show the data as well. But not only me, but everywhere in the sales point of view. So how to talk to them, this mood swing leaders, number one. And number two, but person is really good. But, for example, the meeting around 11 o'clock, take 2.5 hours meeting left and right. Within 3 minutes, then we'll go for lunch and have a drink. So people not able to even digest the dilemma and immediately go and celebrate and enjoy it. So this kind of environment and how to focus and how to control emotions and focus the data or target. Can any tips?
Sure. No, like from what I believe, I see that like individuals, be it managers or be it representatives or be it even sales reps, all of us have mood swings and some of us manage it well. Generally, when you might see if your manager has issues with anger or generally has some kind of outbursts as well, it might be helpful to give them some constructive feedback, because often we ask for feedback saying, can you give me feedback on how I can improve? But often we're pretty bad on giving feedback to our managers as well, because we don't want to have like the negative repercussions of the same. So if you do believe that he or she is an amazing individual, giving them some feedback might be helpful, because they might be overlooking this as well, because in their own ways this might be a justified way of talking or a justified way of working, because it might have given them results in the past. But they might lose out on some good talent, they might lose out on some good deals as well if they're not course correcting, because I'm sure you might not be the only one who's feeling this way in the team. So it might be a good idea to have a one-on-one and give them this feedback, because they might be completely blinded by their own understanding of how they work. That might be the easiest solution, but otherwise, if it's a work environment where it's very target focused, I do understand it's generally tough.
Thank you. But even though we tried with multiple ways giving feedback, but only 1 or 2 days, they're getting back to the square. So that's the situation.
Right.
Yeah. we'll try, because feedbacks only work for 1 day or 2 day. Next day will come normal without pressure, anything normal, things will very well. But after 1 or 2 days again, it'll go back to the original. Yeah.
Right.
As you rightly mentioned, there are many good talented people left the organization. The company is not growing because of the handling the people is critical. The way you speak, the way you articulate is important. So yes, there is a pressure here, the way you articulate and inform the team, but not all the members emotionally equally right in the team. Everybody has their own level of EQ. Thank
Now,
you.
some of these can be learnings as well, because I'm sure that a lot of us might become managers and a lot of us might be managing people at some point of time. These are all learnings for us as well as to how we manage our emotions in the future and what we should be doing and what we should not be doing overall.
Thank you, Dr. Upender. Can we take the next question, Karan?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
Okay. So Ankur Kushwaha has asked that in situations where in-person sales meetings occur without prior scheduling or impromptu in-person sales encounters, how do you adjust your sales approach? I'll just try to see if Ankur can actually elaborate on this question. Ankur, if you can unmute yourself and elaborate on the question that you have mentioned. Ankur, are you there?
No worries, Ronit. We can move on.
Ankur is there.
Ankur
I
is there.
can.
Okay.
Ankur, are you able to unmute? He just tried unmuting himself. Ankur, if yours, I can see that you have actually unmuted yourself. Can you please go ahead and ask your question? Okay, there are some issues. So, okay, we can take the question. And what you can. The thing is that he's asking that in situations like where sales encounters are not scheduled, how do you adjust the sales approach? That's in the chat. If you would like to read that, Karan, maybe I'm not able to comprehend exactly what he meant.
No, I kind of understood if there are a lot of meetings that come up without like a proper schedule, it's often a little difficult to research about the individual or about the company and come back with a strong sales approach. I think that's his question.
Correct.
So I do believe that like really having an empathetic approach comes with practice. Like it's not going to be that we start selling with emotional intelligence very quickly. It's going to come with a little bit of practice. But overall, the sales approach does not change in a situation overall. But yes, it's true if you don't have a lot of time to prep for a call or to prep for a meeting, you might go unprepared. So you might have a very simple understanding of what the individual might want or what the company might want as well. And for a lot of sales that happen very quickly, like there are some individuals who are like, yes, I want to take it, what's the discount? Or yes, I want to take it, what will you sell it at? Give me a better deal or give me a better rate. If they're focused on that kind of a discussion, then you can lead the discussion that way. I've had a couple of calls where a lot of companies have been like, we love the solution, but we want it for this price. And then we're like, great, this is what we can do. It's on them, because if the entire solution or if the entire discussion is based on pricing or it's based on one particular feature or one particular I would say also entitlement in your entire deal, then it's fine if that's how they want to lead a particular call. But if you do see the scope of really understanding what might be their thought process behind asking for a discount, are they looking for saving some money for their manager or saving some money for their company, or are they going ahead and looking at it as a long-term deal? If you're able to understand what is their ulterior motive overall, it might be a different conversation. Like I've had some calls where folks have come back and said, I need a discount to even pitch it to my management. And that's where I've asked them, are you working on a budget? Is it important for you to show them that you got it at a good price? Why are you asking for a discount? And often they've come back and said, no, this feature is available with a competitor, or this particular part of the solution is available with the competitor at a cheaper price. So if I want to go ahead and pitch anything, it has to be at this price. So asking never really spoils the relationship. It often gives you more understanding of what's happening, but play the room, understand what's happening overall and try to adapt to it. I've done a course in improv, and that might be very, very helpful in situations which often occur when we are unprepared. So it might actually help you to also play a little bit of improv as well. There are a couple of groups online. Ronit, if there's something that's coming up in Juno School of Business as well, it might be interesting to do some improv classes with sales. So definitely that might be helpful as well in terms of solving this. Okay. Ronit, I see Yogesh has a question for a long time.
Sure. Sure. Definitely, Karan. Karan, I hope we have some more time. I understand I had actually asked for. Yeah, yeah. Yes. One of the first person to always join the call. So, Yogesh, please go ahead.
Yogesh, I still can't hear you. No worries. Maybe it might be helpful if you can add the question on chat. In the meantime, I'll take up the question from Viraj. Viraj Parekh, right? So, Viraj, you're from the insurance broking profession. Sure. A lot of folks are taking you for quote comparison. Understood. So, this is a very interesting question because I often consider insurance products to be one of the tough sells in the market. So if you've heard about this company called Even Health or some other companies as well in the market, one of the things that they generally go ahead and pitch as a part of their plan is not the OPD benefits or the IPD benefits, but the ease of convenience. Essentially, what the way a lot of insurance or health insurance or even life insurance has evolved is that folks are not looking at what might it be able to solve in the long term overall, but what can it solve for short term? So a lot of health insurances that came up often used to have particular lines mentioned about OPD claims. So essentially, once you go to a doctor, get the bill, then that's when you can get a claim back. Now, some companies came back with cashless, with the card, all of that. And then there are companies like Even Health that came up with the idea of saying, hey, we'll give you a platform to start looking at doctor appointments directly. So folks said, instead of going on Practo or other different platforms, let's go ahead and leverage our own health provider or health insurance provider to leverage that. Similarly, every plan will have some or the other benefit. So the next time you send them a quote saying this is the premium, this is the sum insured, all of those details, add a couple of more lines about how that plan is different and try to go ahead and customize that on the discussion that you would have had. If you're having a discussion with a newly married couple, talk to them about what might be some maternity benefits that it can offer. Because often a lot of health insurance or life insurance firms have a waiting period of 12 months, 24 months. So do go ahead and explain them that particular part of your policy. If you're looking at folks who might be in their mid 40s or early 50s, try to go ahead and customize your quote for them. And I think that's what will really help in terms of selling it to them instead of just sending them a quote. And often a lot of these decisions might be, the quote might be 100 rupees here, 100 rupees there. So I don't think it might work that way. Okay, factory insurance, interesting. So group medical insurance is also very interesting overall. So from what I understood, if a lot of companies are providing group medical insurance, there are specific companies that also give group medical insurance for parents as well as for, I would say, other dependents. Try to go ahead and understand if you can go ahead and pitch it to them in a way, because often companies don't just want to cover employees, but they also want to give employees the idea of having that cover for their parents and dependents. So instead of just going ahead and sending them a quote on that, the other bits might be helpful. So every insurance product, of course, is different, but try to go ahead and change your approach on that. Yes. Awesome. We can move on to the next question as well.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Awesome.
Yeah.
Please, Glenn.
Yes, sir. Yeah, actually, I love the concepts and insights provided by you. And I'm actually targeting, and I'm in a career transition phase, and I'm targeting a career in real estate consulting in firms and everything as a real estate consultant. So I just want to learn uh, how to leverage and when and where to actually use the skill, emotional quotient in B2B sales or in a B2B like in a B2B environment. How
Got it.
can we actually, yeah,
So are you looking at commercial real estate or?
yeah, exactly.
Got it. Got it. So it's very interesting because like overall, when we were also looking out for our office, we were in touch with a couple of folks who were giving us some options. And you'd be very interested to know that we took up the option which had a balcony. And that was the only deciding factor when it came to taking up a new office. Of course, ours was a very small office. There are also companies with larger offices as well. Often when companies go ahead and take up decisions around commercial real estate or even investing in a long-term office space as well, or even investing in a commercial real estate plan, their decisions are driven by an understanding of what they might consider as an ideal office. So a friend of mine who works in commercial real estate generally starts with the question of what's your ideal office? So they're often asking questions to folks saying, define what you feel would be an ideal office space. And that's where folks come up with the wildest of ideas saying, I don't want any desks. I don't want pods. I don't want, I would say, partitions between two chairs also. Or they might just come back saying, I need a traditional office space and I need a fun area. So having that understanding often gives you the edge of then pitching a particular commercial real estate or a particular area as well. Additionally, what has really worked also for him is to give companies a little bit more of a data approach. So in the past, he basically asked companies saying, give me the number of employees by area. So he said, let's go ahead and look at all your employees, especially if I'm taking the case of Bangalore. He said, give me the employees living in north of Bangalore, the number of employees living in south of Bangalore, east and west. And then I'll be able to give you an understanding of which might be the area that's convenient for everyone to travel to, right? And that's when he came back with certain ideas saying that this might be an approach that will help you solve for folks going ahead and leaving your office or not coming to office or preferring to work from home because the travel time is too much. Often companies are driven by this thought that my office should be in the business district, or my office should be far away from the business district. Instead of that, give them a little bit of a approach where you tell them, I'm going to research and get back to you. And that's where you go ahead and ensure that you're connecting with them and letting them know that you care. You don't need to sympathize with them, but just empathize with them that the decision that they have to take in terms of taking up a commercial real estate is going to be the right decision, because they also have to justify it to all their employees saying, hey, we're taking up a new office space. This is going to be amazing. Why? And that essentially has to be some. So think about some ways of really going ahead and changing the way you pitch. Because a lot of companies will come and go saying per seat is this cost, this particular area is this much. Change the entire pitch altogether. No point of pitching it with the same old ideas.
Yeah. And sir, the reason actually I've asked the question is actually in the B2B environment, there might be multiple key influences actually where we have to touch base everyone to make this, like we have to, if we want to make the sale. Like in that area, as we are in the world of artificial intelligence, I just need your guidance if there are any really any good tools actually to come to go and research about the potential prospect or the buyer and to know about them before even to actually pitch them.
Sure.
Is there anything?
There might be some tools that can give you a little bit of interest level data. At Aptweek, we currently use a tool called Apollo. So Apollo currently gives us the ability to prospect and then also filter those prospects by their interest level. And that interest level is defined by what's been their social media activity, what's been their activity on publicly available platforms. So if they've been posting about something, or if they've been posting about something specific to what you're looking out for, there might be a high intent group for you to reach out to. And then you can segment or customize your communication based on the group that you go ahead and filter.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you.
Sure, absolutely.
Shall we take the next question, Karan?
Yeah, absolutely, Ron.
Raji, if you can unmute yourself.
Good morning.
Hi, Raji. Good morning.
I've been passively listening to all because I'm in the office. But of course, I'm from the hospitality industry, as I told you before. Of course, I just joined this, thought I can go through this and refer to my team also. In this entire thing, I understood that different people are there, product selling and service selling. So ours is a recurring client. It's not one time usually, like if you see in the insurance or real estate, you are not going to repeat the client, correct, mostly. But in our case, we are going to be repeating the client. So our approach is actually not very hardcore selling. It's like we are there, available, we make them feel. So that way. In this regard, I just would like to know, like we also face, in our industry, like when the demand supply changes, we need to sometime increase the tariff and kind of thing. So that time we have a lot of repercussions coming. So how do you manage that not to lose the customer and still we get our profitability done?
Sure, absolutely. No, especially in a business like hospitality, where like a good experience generally translates into referrals, generally translates into having a good word of mouth as well. There are a couple of things that can be done, and this is something that we do at Aptweek as well. Firstly, we try to take down as much detail as we can about individuals or about companies as well. To give you an example, there are certain clients who I work with very closely, and I do understand what's also happening in their personal life. For example, there's one client who I work with whose partner is a CA, and I know and understand how things work in their house. I know and understand if they have any moments of celebration as well. And because of that connect that we have, I'm able to often go ahead and ask for any new connections or any referrals that that individual might have as well. So whenever there is, let's say, a request that I have, that individual is generally not looking at me as a service provider, not looking at me as an individual who's trying to sell something, but is looking at me as an individual who is a little more closer than a salesperson. Especially in the hospitality business, because you have a lot of repeat customers, you have the ability of building that stronger connect with individuals at a deeper level. So it might be interesting the next time if there are folks coming in to your particular, to you as well. And if you know them even by their name, or even if you know what was the last interaction, or what happened last time when they were there, or what do they generally even order. Like, to give you an example, I generally, whenever I'm staying in a hotel, I choose a particular brand. And whenever I go to that particular hotel as well for travel, they know what I eat or what I drink. So their first question, even in a more casual manner, is about, hey, do you want to order the same thing that you did last time? So I know they know me at a personal level beyond just me being there for a stay. So some of those things generally help. But of course, whenever business is low, they might be one of the folks who might be here to who might be there to help. And often having those proof of association also helps. So I often don't see hospitality businesses looking for testimonials. It's generally something that happens in the product or the service industry, but you can go ahead and start doing that as well. Why not take a testimonial, or why not take like a proof of association as well, rather than just a feedback form? I think those might help overall. I hope I was able to answer your question overall.
Yes, sir. Can you just elaborate on what is the testimonial? Can you give me some idea?
Yeah, sure.
You can think and come back to me, like what I say. We are also believe in relationship management, and relationship market is the main thing which is coming. But still, as you say, one step above, we can go and get connected from the sales department. So you can think about it, and you can let me know what can I do to make them impressed. Like we do have calling them for lunch or dinner, and we do give Diwali sweets. All those things are there. Anything out of the box, if you think, you can also suggest me.
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can we take Nitesh's question right now?
Sure.
Karan?
Hi, Karan. Firstly, a lovely session, and your calm and composed demeanor really stood out for me. So my question is, you very correctly pointed out that there is a very fine line between targets and EQ, correct? So my question to you is, and moreover, like we've all been noticing that a lot of companies are moving towards the SaaS model of sales now, wherein subscriptions are there, and so the contact with the customers have kind of reduced, correct? Now, even, I mean, for that example, even on a cold call, it's difficult to practice EQ or be empathetic when you are actually calling the person out of the blue and taking him by surprise. So what do you suggest in cases like that?
Got it. So, of course, like for
And
a lot
I'm sorry about my video. Yeah.
no worries.
Yeah.
No worries. See, for a lot of companies, the entire SaaS model, or the entire model of automating subscriptions or automating pricing as well, works out because human intervention becomes lesser, and it, of course, makes profitability higher. So they want to go ahead and implement that for specific use cases. Now, I was talking to someone as well last week on how some sales folks have really forgotten how to respond back to emails, because a lot of folks are going ahead and copy pasting it on Chat GPT, and then they're going
Absolutely.
ahead and responding back with AI,
Right.
which is good, which generally enables a lot of folks. But if we're given the opportunity, we've forgotten how to write a good email. And I do feel the similar is with a cold call as well, where in the past cold calling was so common. And these days, with the advent of Truecaller and a lot of different things, cold calling is slowly dying down. However, from what I have understood, because we often avoid cold calling, but even we have to do it sometimes overall, from what I have generally seen is that most of my cold calls don't go well. While we might have a good script, a lot of folks are generally not receptive to a cold call, but I message them. And you see, in an age where WhatsApp is generally very common, instead of sending them a WhatsApp message, I've messaged them, and that's worked out. So they might not check it at that point of time, but they will, because there are like a ton of WhatsApp messages that they get, but apart from a couple of bank OTPs and general messages, they might not go ahead and get a lot of messages from folks. So when they get a message from someone, they're generally able to read and respond back to it. So the old way of convenient messaging is something that's worked out for me in the recent past, but it might not work out for the long term. So I'm trying to also see if beyond cold calling, if I can connect with them, if I can in some way at least let them know that I want to have a call, it might be easier for me to have that connect overall. Nitish, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, kind of. So yeah. So basically, you would suggest that we should, first message them and ask for time, and probably then get on a call. So that so then it becomes a little warmer. I mean, it becomes a warm call instead of cold call. Correct.
Yeah.
So that's your advice. But like with the progression of more and more companies moving towards the SaaS model of sales, you know, uh, like I mean, yes, being empathetic and EQ and then the targets on your head, all in place. So I mean, could you speak about one of the your experiences, your personal experiences when it comes to making up your mind when it comes to the target or being empathetic or practicing emotional intelligence.
Got it. No, see, I do believe that a lot of things that we do for targets has to be done. Like we can't really go back and avoid following up or really having consistent discussions with folks. And when we look at building relationships as well, some of those relationships take time. Um, some folks, when they're trying to also reach out to me on LinkedIn, instead of writing a message these days, have started recording themselves. So they've started sending recorded messages about like a 1 minute message or a 2 minute message on how their particular product or solutions can be helpful. Now, I might not respond back to them at that point of time, but I'm generally more receptive towards looking at a video message rather than reading something, because I'm generally avoiding that as well.
Absolutely.
So I would say that, of course, we all have pressures of like closing a particular number or getting to a particular number with targets. So leaving that aside, we also have to consistently work on building relationships. And even in your target attainment as well, you'll start seeing that slowly the percentage of deals that are coming through building relationships will increase. So it might
Mhm.
not happen on day one, but you start noticing a little bit of a change probably on day 90.
Right.
So it's a process overall. And if you can go ahead and dedicate even 30 minutes in the day to really looking at how you can specifically go ahead and look at certain leads, or specifically even go ahead and record a 2 minute video for, let's say, 10 clients, that might become like a habit of making sure that 30 minutes are dedicated to building relationships overall. I can share that like for me, when I started looking at the app market in specific 3.5 years ago, I was very keen on building a community. So last year we built a community for app marketers. And today that community has between 250 to 300 members on WhatsApp. Now that community does not give me business, but that community speaks to each other on what's happening in the industry, what are some issues that they're facing, and they know me. So that's the beautiful part of the fact that they know when I'm there, when I'm required, I'm there. And you see, the smallest cost of acquisition is when the customer needs you. When they
Correct.
need you, if they're able to reach out to you, then why not? So I'll always have those 250 to 300 folks as warm leads or warm prospects for me to sell into.
Right. That's a very good suggestion. Thank you so much. Lovely session. Yeah.
Thanks, Nitesh.
Hey Karan, are there any questions in the chat which are still left to be addressed? Because in between I got logged out because of internet challenges. Are there
No,
any questions?
I think there was one which was about uh, any advice for freshers who are motivated to working in sales. Yeah, I think it was more in terms of like some freshers who wanted tips to join sales as well. So like I think when we join sales as a career, we often come with certain expectations as well around targets, around how it'll be difficult to sell, or what are we going to go ahead and sell as well, and would it be rewarding? Would it be a career that we can look forward to? Honestly, like I've seen folks switching careers from sales to marketing to customer success to leadership and to whatnot. And I've also seen some folks who are happy being individual contributors throughout their life. So it's more of a personal bit as to what you enjoy doing. There's no point of being miserable in a sales job if you don't enjoy it, because it really depends on what gives you motivation overall. Does closing a deal give you motivation? Does solving a problem give you motivation as well? Or does making incentives give you motivation? And that would essentially define what kind of a salesperson would you become at the end of the day. Would you become a salesperson who's enjoying incentives? Would you become someone who's enjoying solving a problem? Or would you become someone who wants to grow the ranks and wants to manage people? For me, it was solving problems for the companies that I worked with. But yes, it really depends on. So try to join for the right reasons overall, and try to see what's motivating you, and don't think about. So essentially, success or failure can't be defined by a company's goal of achieving a particular target. If you're running behind that, then you'll generally fall into that space of like being motivated when you do well and being absolutely devastated when you're not doing well. So don't let those targets or target attainment really define how you're working or your professional journey overall.
Hey, thanks, Karan. There is one more question, again, very generic. What practice should one follow as an amateur in real estate sales? Is he pointing out to something that you spoke in between, or is this a generic one that he asked? If you can take this up.
I think it was something that we discussed in detail about real estate, but happy to go ahead and take this up once again. You see, generally when we look at real estate overall, it's more of a volume leads that we go ahead and get. Like generally for anyone working in the retail space, for real estate, you would generally get, let's say, 40, 50 leads in a day. You call them up, sometimes they pick up, sometimes they don't. And you end up sending them floor plans and let's say a couple of properties on WhatsApp. And probably one of those 30 respond back to you. They come to you, they see the particular property, and then they stop picking up your calls. So that's generally been the case overall. But what I've observed with a couple of folks, especially in the real estate space, is that they go deeper than understanding whether you need a 2 BHK or a 3 BHK. They try to understand what are you buying it for? What's the kind of, if you're buying it as an investment, what are you trying to see as results out of it? Like, are you trying to see rental income? Are you trying to see long-term capital growth? Or are you just going ahead and buying it for yourself? And there are a couple of folks who come back and say, look, I'm a real estate agent. I don't just deal in one property or one brand, but I have 50 different brands. The brand that you're referring to is garbage. I have something better for you. So that's where you're like, okay, this individual also has other properties, other opportunities. And they're trying to go back and look at what I want instead of just saying, we want a 2 BHK, 3 BHK. Is your budget 80 lakhs or 1.5 crores? So instead of that, they're trying to go back and change their pitch. So if you're amateur, if you're an amateur in this space, firstly, don't be disheartened by the number of folks that you're calling, and if folks have stopped responding to you. Some folks, especially in real estate, come back to you after 2 months or 3 months. So deal cycles are longer, but you make more money at the end of the day. So try to change the way you might be working, and be open to understanding what people might want overall.
Thanks, Karan. We have an interesting request from Santosh. He's asking if he can join your community.
Yeah,
If you
Sure, I
So
can
maybe, yeah,
send
you can share it with me, and I can actually float that with everyone
Sure.
who have joined today. Right. There's also another interesting question by Lisha. She is pursuing her BBA and wants to understand if she should take sales training right now or after she joins an organization.
Right. So it's interesting because overall, if you're looking at sales training, a lot of it might be theoretical. And of course, some bits of it might be application based in terms of prospecting, in terms of how you might want to structure your pitch, or even I would say lead qualification and all of that. So if that's not something that you would have learned as a part of your post curriculum, it might be a good idea to either look at a short term course, but also try to see if similar content is available online as well, because a lot of it is fairly simple and not rocket science. However, if you do have the opportunity of working with a company and then looking at it as a course, because the company might also have a specific onboarding plan or a training plan for you, that might also be helpful, because you don't want to waste your efforts and time in something that you might eventually learn in the company. And if you're looking at probably getting similar experience in sales or any other field, and if you can do an internship, nothing like that, because an internship is free education overall.
Hey, thanks, Karan. Okay. Lisha, if you want to actually discuss this in detail, you can also unmute yourself if you're comfortable. Got it. Okay. So yeah, Karan, I think we had a great session, definitely with the Q&A. It went almost for an hour, and thank you so much for having that patience for actually giving us 1.5 hours today. Uh, any closing thoughts, Karan, before we actually conclude this session?
Yeah, for me as well, it was a good session. Kind of also gave me a lot of perspective about different industries as well as different areas of expertise. I would just say that one of the things that I've enjoyed so far in the sales career, when I look back, is seeing some of my clients very successful. Some clients that I onboarded on different platforms, maybe 3 years, 4 years, even 5 years ago, are still using the platform. So that's amazing to see. I would also say that often I've taken a lot of deals very emotionally. So if I've lost a deal or if I've got a deal, I've generally been very happy or very sad about it. And I've slowly started detaching myself from being extremely happy or extremely sad about losing or closing a deal. But it's a journey overall. And for folks who are starting off or folks who are already so experienced in their field, enjoy the fact that you have the ability to represent a company, represent a product or service, but know when to stop as well. Because if you're in an environment that is not allowing you to learn or grow or even do your best, then of course you can thrive in different environments overall. But yeah, that's all from my end. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you so much, Karan, once again for taking out time and accepting our invitation for the masterclass. Definitely something that Nitesh mentioned. We really loved your composed demeanor, right? The way you conducted the session, also the Q&A, which almost took an hour, right? So thank you so much once again. Before we conclude the session, just want to tell everyone that every week we have this masterclass live at 12 p.m. Uh, Please do follow us on all the social media handles like YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram to stay updated on all the latest related content that we post on sales, business growth, entrepreneurship, uh, anything that will help you grow in your career. and also we'll help you keep updated with the masterclass that will be conducted, right? So request everyone to please follow us across all the social media handles. And yeah, thank you so much, everyone. Have a great weekend. Catch you again next week, Saturday, 12 p.m. Thank you so much. Thank you, Karan. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Ronan. Bye.